Part 1: The Shadow of Anodyne. I never had much faith in the reliability of urgent transmissions from the edges of known space. The Elysium Syndicate, notorious for its secretive dealings, was usually quiet unless it was time to remind us they existed. But this one was different. It crackled to life in my cabin, interrupting my rather underwhelming breakfast of rehydrated eggs and something that might have been coffee in a previous life. The message was short, almost impersonal. Captain Rourke, your presence is requested at Anodyne Station concerning urgent matters of cosmic significance. Details upon arrival. It had that halo of mystery only possible when the sender thinks far too highly of themselves. I chuckled, wiping yolk off my sleeve. Cosmic significance, sure, and my grandmother was a Martian queen. But a job was a job, and the lightbender was more rust than ship without something to keep her flying. So I plotted a course for Anodyne, its coordinates nestled like secrets in the vast void. The ship groaned in protest as we maneuvered away from the asteroids of the Leviathan belt, engines humming a familiar, albeit slightly off-tune lullaby. Seb, my trusted engineer and sole crew member, staggered into the cockpit, hair as wild as the nebulae outside. Cosmic significance, eh? He drawled, peering over my shoulder at the navigation screen. Sounds like something you'd write in your diary, right after Dear Diary saw another damn rock today. Despite myself, I laughed, shaking my head. More like Dear Diary, don't tell Seb he looks like a scrubbing brush again. As we approached Anodyne Station, its massive silhouette emerged from the shadows of a nearby gas giant. An architectural marvel, it floated like a watchful sentinel amidst the swirling colors of the planetary storm. The station was a sprawling city in orbit, a lattice of corridors and docking bays clinging to a central spire like ivy to an ancient tower. Docking was straightforward, which was suspicious in itself. Anodyne's traffic was usually a mess of colorful freighters and sleek, unmarked frigates jockeying for position. Today, it was an eerie stillness, an unspoken anticipation hanging in the recycled air. As I stepped off the ramp, the cold metallic floor of the station sent a shiver up my spine. My breath misted in the air. Anodyne's climate control had evidently been set to icebox. I was met by a woman who introduced herself as Lyra, a syndicate liaison with an expression like she'd bitten into a lemon. She led me through the maze of corridors, past flickering holosigns that advertised everything from exotic dancers to even more exotic weapons. "This way, Captain," she said curtly, gesturing towards a nondescript door. It slid open to reveal a chamber unlike any I'd seen. The walls undulated with a strange bioluminescent glow, casting ethereal patterns across the floor. And there, at the center of it all, floated an alien contraption, a sphere of shifting colors and textures, pulsating with a rhythm that felt almost alive. It was the first time I'd met a T-Shara, the non-humanoid species known for their enigmatic technology. I'd heard tales, of course, whispered in bars and outposts, but seeing one in the flesh, if you could call it that, was something entirely different. It regarded me with an intensity that made my skin crawl, though I couldn't tell if it even had eyes. "Rourke," it spoke, the voice resonating in my mind like a distant echo. "We need you to retrieve something lost, an artifact of great importance within the ruins of the Starsea Drift." Ah, the Starsea Drift, a nebula of churning particles and spatial anomalies. Navigating it was like dancing through a minefield blindfolded. And what makes you think I'd agree to such a suicide mission? The T-Shara seemed to shimmer amusedly. "Because, Captain, you have already begun. The artifact is key to stabilizing this sector and beyond. Your ship, your life, they are tethered to this task." I felt a cold sweat trickle down my neck. The T-Shara weren't known for their bluffing. What choice did I have, really? Decline and risk the wrath of the Syndicate, or worse, the T-Shara themselves? I nodded, feigning more confidence than I felt. Where do we start? Lyra handed me a data pad, her demeanor softening slightly, as if the weight of the mission tied us somehow. You'll need to visit the wreck of the Helios Dawn. It's drifting near the event horizon of the Black Echo. Of course, the Black Echo, NASA's worst nightmare. A black hole that devours light and sanity in equal measure. Just another day in the life of Captain Rourke, I suppose. As Lyra turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of genuine worry in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment I wondered if this mission was cosmic significance or cosmic suicide. Back on the Lightbender, Seb greeted me with his usual cynicism. "Something tells me this isn't just a routine pickup job," he said, eyeing the data. "Pad like it might explode." "You're not wrong," I replied, settling into the pilot's seat. "We're heading to the Starsea drift and there's a black hole involved." "Great, I always wanted my atoms stretched across the universe like spaghetti." As the Lightbender powered up, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were stepping into something far larger than ourselves. Yet a part of me, a very small, possibly deranged part, thrilled at the challenge. We were going where few dared, into the heart of the unknown, with only a promise of significance and secrets as our guide. The engines roared to life, propelling us into the starlit abyss, and with it, the first echoes of an adventure that would test every limit. What lay ahead, I could only imagine, but one thing was certain: I would emerge changed, if at all. As we leapt into the void, I whispered to the stars, "Dear diary, wish me luck. I think I might need it." Part 2, Into the Nethers. The stars seemed to hold their breath as we approached the Starsea drift, a cosmic ballet of swirling gas and shimmering particles. It was beautiful, in the way a thunderstorm is beautiful, distant, dangerous, and utterly indifferent to the smallness of human endeavor. I felt the weight of the mission settle deeper into my bones with every parsec we traveled. Seb busied himself with the scanners, muttering a steady stream of engineer profanity that would have made a sailor blush. "This soup is thicker than anything I've seen," he grumbled, tapping the console. "The sensors are practically blind in this mess." "Blind we may be, but not deaf," I replied, straining my ears for any sign of distress or guidance in the ship's ambient hum. "We know the Helios Dawn is out there somewhere, trapped between the nethers and the event horizon of the Black Echo. We just need to find it before we end up as cosmic confetti." "Reassuring as always, Captain." Seb rolled his eyes. "Remind me why I signed up for this again." "Because you enjoy risking your life for artifacts of cosmic significance, or perhaps for the exotic joys of freeze-dried dinner," I quipped, my smirk more for my own benefit than his. His only response was a snort, followed by a flick of switches that sent the Lightbender into a slow, cautious spin through the drift. Each rotation revealed more of the nebula's shifting colors, a kaleidoscope painted by a mad artist. The silence was thick, broken only by the occasional creak of the hull and Seb's grunts of frustration. And then, a whisper, a transmission so faint I almost thought it was my imagination. "This is Helios Dawn, if you can hear us. Trapped, artifact secured." I leaned forward, heart racing. "Seb, did you catch that?" He nodded, adjusting the receiver to isolate the frequency. "Barely. It's weak, but it's there." The fragments of the message repeated, haunted and desperate, like a forgotten ghost whispering across time. "It's coming from the edge," Seb confirmed, "right where the Black Echo's gravity starts making things interesting." "Interesting," I echoed, steering the Lightbender toward the source. "That's one word for it." As we neared, the drift thinned slightly, revealing the Helios Dawn. She was a ghost ship, her hull scarred and battered, floating like a forlorn sentinel on the precipice of infinity. The sight filled me with a mix of awe and trepidation. Here was a ship that had danced with a black hole and lived to tell the tale, at least in broken whispers. We docked with an almost reverent caution, the lightbender's grapples clamping onto the Helios Dawn's skeletal frame. The boarding ramp extended with a groan, welcoming us into the vessel's dim, echoing corridors. The ship was a sepulchre, its corridors lined with dust and forgotten echoes. Every step felt like a trespass on hallowed ground, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something. Seb and I moved carefully, guided by the feeble light of flickering emergency beacons. We reached the bridge, a cavernous space dominated by shattered viewports and a command table that hummed with dormant power. It wasn't long before we found what we came for, a large, rectangular container of alien design, its surface etched with T-Shara symbols that pulsed softly with a light of their own. Seb approached it with a look of awe and trepidation. "This is it, isn't it, the artifact?" "Looks like it. And if the T-Shara wanted it this bad, there's no telling what it can do," I replied, almost whispering, as if the artifact might wake and speak if we raised our voices. As we hoisted the artifact, a low rumble reverberated through the ship. The Helios Dawn shuddered, her hull groaning in protest. Lights flickered, and the distant wail of a klaxon pierced the silence, a mechanical scream that sent a chill up my spine. "The ship's destabilizing," Seb shouted, already sprinting back the way we came. "The black echoes pulling us in." We retraced our steps, the Helios Dawn trembling around us like a beast in its death throes. Bulkheads groaned as gravity shifted, drawing us toward the maw of the black hole. Adrenaline spurred me forward even as my mind raced with 100 impossible scenarios. We reached the lightbender breathless and frantic, slamming the ramp shut and jettisoning from the dying ship. The engines roared as Seb pushed them to their limits, straining against the invisible pull of the black echo. "Come on, girl, hold together," I urged under my breath, gripping the controls with sweat-slick hands. The lightbender shuddered, the proximity alarms blaring warnings of our impending doom. Finally, with one last mighty thrust, the ship broke free. We burst from the drift, leaving the Helios Dawn and her secrets behind, dancing on the edge of annihilation. My heart pounded in my ears, the adrenaline slowly ebbing like a receding tide. Seb leaned back in his S. Eyes closed, letting out a shaky breath. "Well, that was fun. Let's never do it again." "I'll drink to that," I replied, though I knew this was only the beginning. We had the artifact, but its purpose and power were yet unknown. And then there were the questions, a million of them, all buzzing in my head like a swarm of angry insects. But for now, we had survived, and the stars once again spread before us, a canvas of endless possibilities. I couldn't shake the feeling that the universe had shifted, ever so slightly, as if we were now moving to a new rhythm, one set by forces beyond our understanding. As the lightbender sailed through the cosmic night, I whispered to the humming engines, "Dear diary, the adventure's just begun. Let's see where it takes us." Part 3: The Echoes of the Past. The lightbender cruised through space, the engines now a steady hum beneath the deck plates, offering a moment's respite from the adrenaline-fueled chaos of our recent escapade. I leaned back in the pilot's seat, my thoughts a whirlwind of the artifact's implications and the T-Shara's cryptic urgency. Seb, never one to let silence settle too comfortably, broke the stillness. "So, what now? Deliver the cosmic doodad and hope we don't get atomized in the process." I chuckled, though there was an edge to it. "First, we figure out why this thing is worth risking our necks. Then I'd like to avoid any optional atomization if possible." He raised an eyebrow, "And here I thought you lived for danger." Only if danger comes with a pension plan, I smirked, but inside the question loomed large. What made this artifact so vital, so universe-tethering, as the T-Shara put it? Our musings were interrupted by a series of alerts on the console. A quick glance told me we picked up a signal, faint, yet unmistakable. It didn't match any known frequencies, human or otherwise. Something about the way it fluctuated, like a song half-remembered, set my instincts into overdrive. "That doesn't sound like the Syndicate," Seb noted, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "It's coming from the Scylla Verge." The Scylla Verge, a desolate stretch of space known for its spectral storms and, if rumors held true, the remnants of an ancient alien civilization. It was the kind of place you avoided unless you had a good reason, or none at all. "What do you think?" Seb asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and caution. "I think we're not done dancing with danger yet. Set a course." As we changed direction, the void outside shifted, deepening into the murky hues of the verge. It was a region where logic seemed to falter. The stars themselves seemed to flicker with uncertainty, as if debating their own existence. We followed the signal, its cadence like a whisper leading us deeper into the heart of the verge. It guided us to a vast, floating structure, half shrouded in the swirling mists, an elongated obelisk of unknown origin, its surface etched with glyphs that pulsed in an unsettling rhythm. "This is it," I murmured, feeling a strange pull, an almost magnetic yearning toward the structure. "The source of the signal." "Looks abandoned," Seb observed, scanning the alien silhouette. "Or maybe just playing dead." "Only one way to find out," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Prep the suits, we're going in." We donned our EVA suits, the helmets sealing with a hiss, and stepped into the airlock. The transition was seamless. The outer door opened to reveal the structure's yawning entrance. We floated inside, our lights cutting through the shadows like knives through fog. The interior was cavernous, a labyrinth of corridors and chambers that twisted in ways my mind struggled to map. The air was thick with a sense of the past, of stories untold and secrets unsolved. As we moved deeper, the glyphs seemed to react, their glow intensifying like the beating of an ancient heart. "Captain, you seeing this?" Seb's voice crackled in my ear, his light illuminating walls lined with what could only be described as artifacts, tools and trinkets of unknown purpose, frozen in time. "Yeah," I replied, the weight of discovery pressing on my chest. "We're standing in someone's history." We emerged into a vast chamber that took my breath away. It was like stepping into a cathedral built for gods, massive and echoing, with a domed ceiling of transparent material that offered a view of the swirling starscape beyond. But what drew my attention was a device at the center, a pedestal upon which rested an object, spherical and intricate, similar yet distinct from the artifact we'd retrieved. It seemed to pulse in sync with the glyphs, a heartbeat that resonated within my bones. I approached it cautiously, every instinct warning of the unknown. "These things, they're connected," I murmured, reaching out to the sphere. As my fingers brushed its surface, a flood of images and sounds filled my mind. A civilization advanced beyond comprehension, its history unfolding in a sequence of breathtaking scenes, creation and destruction, unity and division, a dance of progress and peril. And through it all, the artifact, a constant, its purpose both a beacon and a bane. Then it faded, leaving me gasping, my mind reeling from the weight of it all. "Seb, it's like a key to their story." His voice was tense. "You okay? You looked like you were just hit by a solar flare." "I'm fine," I managed, though my heart was still racing. "We need to get this back to Anodyne. Whatever this is, it's bigger than we imagined." We secured the artifact, retracing our path back to the Lightbender, the echoes of the alien past still whispering in my mind. As we cleared the verge, I couldn't help but wonder about the civilization we'd glimpsed. Was it the T-Shara's ancestors or another force entirely? The mysteries compounded, each revelation leading to more questions. But for now, we had a destination and a mission unfinished. As I set the course back to Anodyne, I whispered to the quiet expanse, "Dear diary, the past isn't as silent as we thought. Let's hope the future is listening." Part 4. The Nexus of Intention. The journey back to Anodyne was thick with introspection, the artifacts resting in the cargo hold like dormant titans waiting to awaken. I could feel their presence even through the bulkheads, an echo of alien intent that seemed to seep into my thoughts, unbidden and insistent. Seb, ever the pragmatic soul, spent most of the voyage tinkering with the ship's systems, his occasional muttering providing a comforting backdrop to the silent questions swirling in my mind. What power lay within these artifacts? What story were they trying to tell, and what role did we play in its unfolding? We neared Anodyne Station, its silhouette once more rising from the shadows of the gas giant. Docking was uneventful, but the station's energy felt different, a subtle current of anticipation running beneath its surface. It was as if the very structure sensed the significance of what we carried. Lyra met us at the docking bay, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. "Captain Rourke, you're back," she said, her gaze shifting to the crates holding the artifacts. "And you brought more than we expected." "You have no idea," I replied, the weight of my understanding still settling into place. "Whatever these are, they're connected to something ancient, something profound." Lyra nodded, leading us through the labyrinthine corridors of Anodyne, her pace brisk yet purposeful. The corridors seemed alive with the hum of the station's systems, a symphony of technology playing its own secret melody. We entered a chamber unlike any other I'd seen, a convergence of metal and organic design, its walls adorned with swirling patterns that mirrored those of the artifacts. In the center stood the T-Shara, their presence as commanding as ever. "Rourke," the voice echoed in my mind, a familiar resonance that felt almost like an old friend. "You have succeeded. The artifacts are here, and with them, the potential to awaken the Nexus." "The Nexus?" I asked, the name tinged with mystery and expectation. "The Nexus of Intention," the T-Shara explained, their form pulsing with meaning. "A construct of consciousness, a bridge between realities. It binds the threads of our universe, ensuring balance and continuity. The artifacts are its keys." My mind spun, the implication staggering. A bridge between realities. What did that mean for us, for the galaxy, for everything we thought we knew? And what happens if it's unlocked? "Possibilities unfold," the T-Shara replied, their tone enigmatic. "The universe sings a different song." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes unwavering. "The Syndicate believes this could stabilize not just our sector, but potentially prevent the disruptions we've seen across the spiral arms. Anodyne was founded for this purpose, to safeguard the Nexus." Before I could respond, alarms shattered the ambience, red lights bathing the chamber in urgency. A transmission crackled over the station's comm, a voice distorted yet frantic. "Unidentified vessels approaching, heavy armament, hostile intent. Prepare for assault." Seb and I exchanged a look, the adrenaline from our previous exploits surging back. "Looks like we've got company," he said dryly, already moving toward the exit. The station shuddered with the impact of weapons fire, the corridors now thrumming with activity. We raced through Anodyne, the path a blur of motion and sound, as alerts blared and personnel scrambled. We reached the hangar, the lightbender waiting like a coiled predator. "Get her ready," I barked to Seb as I accessed the station's defense grid. The hostile ships were sleek, menacing, their hulls bristling with weapons, pirates, or worse, syndicate rivals. The lightbender launched into the chaos, Seb's skilled hands dancing over the controls. The void was alive with light and fury, energy beams slicing through the darkness as ships danced the deadly waltz of combat. I took the co-pilot's seat, my focus honed to a razor's edge. "Let's give them something to remember," I said, a grim determination settling over me. We wove through the melee, the lightbender responding like an extension of my own will. Maneuvering through the fray, we targeted the lead ship, its silhouette a dark omen against the star-speckled backdrop. "On your mark," Seb called out, the ship systems synchronizing with lethal precision. "Now," I commanded, the words a catalyst as ordnance erupted from the lightbender, a symphony of destruction aimed true. The enemy vessel shuddered, its defenses faltering under our onslaught. Fire blossomed from its hull, a brief, brilliant flower of chaos. As it succumbed, the rest of the hostile fleet hesitated, then broke formation, retreating into the void, their threat diminished. The aftermath was a quiet contrast, the stars resuming their distant vigil. We returned to the station, the atmosphere a mix of relief and vigilance, the echoes of battle still reverberating in our ears. Inside the Tees Hall, Ra waited, their presence unchanged, as though the skirmish had been but a ripple in their vast ocean. "The Nexus must be secured," they said, an edge of urgency in their voice. "Prepare to commence the activation." I nodded, the weight of responsibility settling heavily upon me. Whatever lay ahead, it was clear the stakes had never been higher. As Seb and I readied ourselves for the next step in this unfolding saga, I whispered into the ether, "Dear diary, the universe has called. Let's see what it has to say." Part 5: The Awakening of the Nexus. Anodyne Station was a hive of activity, the recent skirmish sharpening everyone's focus. The air hummed with urgency and whispered intrigue as we prepared to embark on the final phase of this cosmic quest, awakening the nexus of intention. The artifacts, now carefully aligned within the station's core chamber, seemed to pulse with anticipation, their presence an undeniable gravitational force. Seb and I found ourselves in an expansive control room, the heart of Anodyne's operations. Lyra and the Tishara stood nearby, the latter radiating a calm intensity that made the air feel charged with meaning. The walls were lined with consoles and displays, the technology of a dozen worlds working in concert. "Everything is set," Lyra confirmed, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "The Nexus can be activated once the artifacts are synchronized." I studied the displays, each one a window into the vast network of technology woven throughout the station. It was an intricate dance of data and energy, a symphony waiting to be conducted. "And you're sure this won't, tear a hole in reality?" I asked, only half joking. "The calculations are precise," Lyra assured, though I noted a tension in her posture that suggested even precise calculations carried their own risks. The Tishara moved closer, their forms shimmering with an ethereal light. "The Nexus is a convergence," they explained, "a point where reality's threads intersect. It will not tear, it will weave new patterns." I nodded, though the explanation only added layers to the enigma. The Nexus, a meeting place of realities, a cradle of potential, it was both exhilarating and terrifying. Seb, ever the practical mind, glanced at me with a wry smile. "Just another day at the office, Captain?" "Just another day," I echoed, though the gravity of the situation was palpable. "Let's get this show on the road." We initiated the sequence. the room filling with a low hum as the artifacts began to resonate. Their light intensified, casting strange, intricate shadows on the walls that seemed to dance and shift with a life of their own. The energy in the room crescendoed, a tangible force that pressed against my skin. The artifact's glow became blinding, a beacon blazing at the heart of the chamber. I could feel the resonance in my bones, a deep, harmonious vibration that connected us all in that moment. And then, with a final, resounding pulse, the Nexus awakened. A torrent of light and information cascaded through the room, enveloping us in a wash of sensations. For a moment I was everywhere, seeing stars birth and die, witnessing the rise and fall of civilizations, feeling the pulse of the universe itself. It was overwhelming, a deluge of existence that threatened to drown me in its vastness. Yet within that chaos, a pattern emerged. I saw the T-Shera's role, their stewardship of the Nexus, their guardianship of balance. And I saw myself, a thread in the tapestry, my life intertwined with this cosmic narrative in ways I hadn't imagined. As the light receded, leaving behind a resonant stillness, I found myself breathless, my mind struggling to reorient to the familiar confines of my own reality. Lyra and Seb stood nearby, similarly affected, their expressions a mix of awe and newfound certainty. The T-Shera watched us, their gaze serene, as if they had always known this was how it would unfold. "The Nexus is stabilized," the T-Shera announced, their voice as soothing as a lullaby. "The balance is restored and the path forward is clear." I nodded, though clarity was a relative term. I could feel the knowledge of what had passed and what was to come settling in, a new understanding that would take time to fully embrace. As we exited the chamber, the station seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The corridors, once tense with anticipation, were now abuzz with a sense of accomplishment, of a mission realized. Seb and I made our way back to the Lightbender, the familiar hum of her engines a comforting reminder of continuity amidst change. As we prepared to depart, I took a moment to reflect on the journey, the mysteries unearthed, the challenges faced, and the new questions that had arisen. "What's next, Captain?" Seb asked, his tone both curious and hopeful. I considered the possibilities, the threads of the universe now laid bare before us. "We see where the next thread leads," I replied, a hint of a smile playing on my lips. "The universe is full of stories waiting to be told." As the Lightbender lifted off from Anodyne, I gazed at the expanse of stars stretching out before us. Each one a potential adventure, a new horizon to explore. The Nexus had shown us the interconnectedness of all things, and with it, the promise of endless discovery. "Dear Diary," I murmured to the starlit void, "the universe is vast and we're just getting started." Part 6, The Celestial Riddle. With the Nexus stabilized, the Lightbender slipped back into the cosmic dance, weaving through the stellar tapestry with newfound purpose. There was a lightness to the ship now, as if she too had been breathed upon by the mysteries of the universe. Seb's jovial whistling could be heard from the engineering bay, his way of serenading the engines into smoother operations. I was back in the cockpit, the stardust of possibilities stretching out before me. The Nexus had opened my eyes to the boundless potential of our reality, but it also left me with a lingering question. What did it mean for us, for me, in the grand scheme of things? The hum of the console snapped me out of my reverie. A priority message, encrypted and bearing the signature of an old acquaintance, Alina, a broker of secrets and favors in the galaxy's undercurrents, whose help often came with its own price tag. "Rourke, if you're receiving this, it means you're alive and kicking. I've got a job for you. Something stirring in the celestial vault, and you're the only one I can trust to navigate those waters. "Meet me at Orion's Rest, and come alone." I leaned back, considering the message. Alina never reached out unless the stakes were high or the payout astronomical. Either way, it meant trouble, and more often than not, an adventure worth the risk. I set the course for Orion's Rest, an orbital outpost renowned as much for its strategic location as for its legendary bar where deals were struck over cocktails that could probably fuel a starship. It was a nexus of its own kind, where the galaxy's movers and shakers came to weave their intricate webs. Seb joined me in the cockpit, a wrench casually slung over his shoulder. "Got a destination, then, or are we drifting until the stars tell us where to go?" "We've got a meeting," I replied, showing him the message. "Alina S. reached out, wants to talk vault business." Seb frowned, his usual skepticism surfacing. "The Celestial Vault sounds more like the setup for a bad joke. What's the punchline?" "That's what we're going to find out," I said, the thrill of the unknown stirring within me. "And if there's a riddle to be solved, you know I can't resist." We arrived at Orion's Rest amidst a flotilla of vessels, each one more eclectic than the last. The docking bay was a bustling interchange of languages, colors, and technologies, the air filled with the aroma of 100 exotic cuisines. Alina was waiting at the rendezvous point, her silhouette framed against the vibrant backdrop of the station's busiest atrium. Her presence was as commanding as ever, her eyes sharp and shrewd beneath a mane of dark curls. "Rourke," she greeted, her smile a blend of warmth and calculation. "You're looking well, must be all that cosmic gallivanting." "Alina," I replied, matching her smile with one of my own. "You said you had something that needed my particular touch." She nodded, leading me through the thrumming crowds to a quieter enclave where the walls seemed to absorb sound and conversation. "There's a new player in the vault," she began, her voice low and edged with intrigue. "A group calling themselves the Arbiters. They're seeking something ancient, something powerful, and they're willing to go through anyone to get it." I listened, captivated. The Celestial Vault was a legendary region of space, rumored to hold remnants of civilizations long gone and treasures beyond imagining. It was as treacherous as it was enticing, a siren call to those who dared. "What do they want with it?" I asked, curiosity piqued. "And why come to me?" "Because you have a knack for surviving the impossible," she replied, eyes glinting with a mixture of admiration and mischief. "And because you have something they don't, an understanding of the nexus." I hesitated, the weight of her words settling in. The nexus again, a focal point around which the universe seemed to spin. "And your angle." Alina shrugged, her demeanor relaxed yet charged with purpose. "I want to know what the Arbiters are planning, and if they're a threat to the balance we've just restored. Think of it as a puzzle, Rourke, one that only you can solve." I considered her proposition, the challenge a spark igniting within me. The vault, the Arbiters, the nexus. It was a riddle woven through the stars, waiting to be unraveled. "All right," I agreed, the decision made. "Count me in." As I returned to the lightbender, Seb looked up from a tangle of wires, his expression a mix of expectation and exasperation. "So, what's the verdict? Are we diving headfirst into another cosmic conundrum?" "Absolutely," I replied, the excitement undeniable. "The vault's calling, and it's time to see what secrets it holds." The engines roared to life, propelling us into the celestial expanse once more. As the stars streaked by, I felt the familiar tingle of anticipation that came with every new adventure. Each voyage was a thread in the greater tapestry, and this one promised to be a masterpiece of its own accord. "Dear Diary," I murmured, as the lightbender surged forward, "the stars have spoken, and we're off to dance among their mysteries once more." Part 7, Into the Celestial Vault, asterisk. The lightbender hurtled through the cosmic ether, its path illuminated by the distant glow of the celestial vault. The vault was a region steeped in legend and peril, whispered about in hushed tones at the darkest corners of dive bars across the galaxy. It was said to be a graveyard of ancient empires, a repository of relics and technologies that defied understanding. As we approached, the stars seemed to flicker with a clandestine anticipation. Seb and I settled into a comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from shared adventures and mutual understanding. The ship hummed around us, cocooning us in a familiar embrace as we navigated the shifting currents of the vault. "It's like flying into the heart of a nebula," Seb mused, his eyes scanning the swirling mosaic of light and space outside the viewport. "Beautiful and dangerous as hell. Exactly the kind of place you'd find arbiters sniffing around," I replied, focusing on the controls as the lightbender threaded its way through the unpredictable gravitational eddies. We were following a trail, a series of faint energy signatures that Alina had provided, breadcrumbs leading us deeper into the vault's enigmatic heart. Each blip on the scanner was a step closer to uncovering the arbiters' intentions and the secrets they sought. The journey was tense, the air heavy with the weight of the unknown. We passed through fields of drifting debris, the remains of ships and stations long claimed by the vault's grasp. The silence of the graveyard was profound, a solemn reminder of the cost of hubris in the face of the cosmos. After hours of careful navigation, we came upon an anomaly that took my breath away, a colossal structure, suspended in the void like a slumbering giant. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen, vast and imposing, its architecture a blend of organic curves and crystalline spires. "This must be it," Seb said, a sense of awe coloring his usually pragmatic tone. "One of the vault's treasures." I nodded, my mind racing. The arbiters would undoubtedly be drawn to such a place, seeking whatever secrets lay within its walls. "Let's get a closer look." We maneuvered the lightbender into a stable orbit, and I suited up, feeling the familiar weight of the EVA gear as I prepared to venture into the unknown once more. Seb opted to stay behind, his skills more useful on the ship should things go awry, a distinct possibility given our track record. As I floated toward the structure, it loomed larger, its surface shimmering with a serene luminescence that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The airlock opened with a muted hiss, and I drifted inside, my senses heightened by the gravity of the moment. The interior was a vast hall, its walls lined with symbols and patterns that felt both alien and strangely familiar. The air was thick with an energy that hummed in my bones, a resonance that called to something deep within me. I moved through the corridors, each step a journey into history, every shadow a potential secret. The space was labyrinthine, a complex network that seemed to shift around me, guiding me toward its heart. And then I found it, a chamber, grand and mysterious, dominated by a central pedestal upon which rested an orb of exquisite beauty. It was similar to the artifacts we had encountered before, yet distinct, its surface alive with swirling colors that danced to an unknown rhythm. As I reached out to touch it, a voice echoed through the chamber, not in sound but in thought, a presence that filled the air with its gravity. "Welcome, seeker," it intoned, the words resonating with a wisdom that transcended time. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of reverence and curiosity. "We are the keepers of the vault," the voice replied, a chorus of ages woven into a single unity. "Guardians of knowledge and stewards of the past, you stand before the heart of worlds." The heart of worlds, the name reverberated through me, an acknowledgement of the weight of what I had found. I could feel the orb's connection to the Nexus, its role in the greater story of the cosmos. "What do the Arbiters want?" I asked, my mind racing with questions. "They seek control to bend the fabric of existence to their will," the voice answered, its tone grave. "But the vault is not theirs to command. It is a sanctuary for the curious, a beacon for those who seek wisdom." As I absorbed the implications, the chamber began to shift, the symbols on the walls glowing with an ancient light. "You must choose, Seeker," the voice continued, "to protect what is or to change what could be." It was a choice I hadn't anticipated, one that carried the weight of countless lives and futures. I felt the gravity of the moment, the potential for creation or destruction resting in my hands. With a deep breath, I made my decision, the path forward unfolding in my mind like a tapestry of stars. I would protect the vault, guard its secrets from those who sought to exploit them. As I turned to leave, the voice of the keepers echoed one final time, a blessing and a charge. "Go forth, Seeker, and let the stars guide your way." I returned to the Lightbender, my heart full of purpose and my mind alight with the possibilities of what lay ahead. Seb greeted me with a raised eyebrow, his curiosity evident. "What did you find?" he asked, his voice full of expectation. "A legacy," I replied, a smile playing on my lips, "and a promise to keep." As the Lightbender once more plunged into the stellar sea, I felt the threads of the universe weaving a new pattern, one in which we were entwined. "Dear Diary," I whispered to the stars, "the puzzle's far from complete, but the pieces are falling into place." Part 8: The Verdict of Stars. The Lightbender glided away from the monolithic structure, the heart of worlds, now secured under the watchful gaze of its ethereal keepers. I could still feel its resonant pulse echoing through my being, a reminder of the choices we make and the paths they create. The artifacts, the nexus, the vault, all threads of a tapestry that had become inextricably linked with my own. Seb sat across from me in the cockpit, eyes reflecting the myriad constellations drifting past. "So, we've got the Arbiters sniffing around for power, and we've got ancient space magic on our hands. What's our next move, Captain?" I pondered his question, the weight of the heart's revelation still a fresh imprint on my mind. "We need allies," I said, the decision forming with each spoken word. "If the Arbiters are determined to control the vault's secrets, we can't stand against them alone." Seb nodded, the implication clear. "And where are we going to find friends in the middle of nowhere?" I smiled, a plan already taking shape. "We call in old favors and find new ones where we can. There's more than one way to rally a fleet." The first stop on our list was Lidus Prime, a bustling hub of commerce and diplomacy, where deals were made and alliances forged in the shimmering towers that reached toward the binary suns. If we were to muster any kind of resistance, it would start there. The journey was punctuated by brief respites, moments where the universe seemed to hold its collective breath, waiting for our next move. The stars persisted in their silent vigil, an audience to our unfolding saga. Upon arrival, Lidus Prime unfolded before us like a jewel of light and motion, its orbital platforms a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of its inhabitants. The station was alive with activity, a kaleidoscope of cultures and species converging in the pursuit of trade, knowledge, and sometimes mischief. We docked the Lightbender, its hull gleaming in the artificial daylight of the hangar. As we stepped onto the platform, I felt the familiar buzz of anticipation, the sense that anything was possible in a place like this. Navigating the throng of sentients, we made our way to the central concourse, a vast space lined with traders shouting their wares and emissaries haggling over volatile agreements. It was a symphony of chaos, notes of hope and desperation mingling in the air. Our destination was a modest chamber nestled within the diplomatic sector, where I hoped to find an old contact, Turin Sloane, a trader with connections that span the known galaxy and beyond. If anyone could help us rally support, it would be him. Sloane was waiting, his sharp eyes assessing as we entered. His presence was magnetic, an aura of confidence born from a life lived in the heart of the galaxy's crossroads. "Rourke," he greeted, a subtle nod of respect accompanying his words. "I heard whispers you were back in the game." "Couldn't resist the allure of cosmic riddles," I replied, matching his easy demeanor. "We're on the trail of something big, Turin. Could use a friend who knows the lay of the land." He leaned back, fingers steepled thoughtfully. "What exactly are we dealing with here?" I explained briefly, outlining the threat posed by the arbiters and the significance of the vault. Sloane listened, his expression shifting from curiosity to intrigue and finally to resolve. "You're not the only one who's noticed the arbiters' movements," he said, a steel edge in his voice. "They've been making waves, buying influence, but they haven't secured loyalty, only fear." "Then we appeal to those who value freedom over tyranny," I said, feeling the momentum build. "We need people willing to stand for something greater." Sloane smiled, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. "I know a few folks who might be interested in ruffling some feathers. Count me in." With Sloane's backing, the network began to take shape. A coalition of traders, pilots, and even a few sympathetic officials who saw the arbiters for what they were. It was a patchwork alliance, but one with potential to become a formidable force. As the meeting adjourned, Seb and I made our way back to the Lightbender, spirits lifted by the prospect of allies and the promise of resistance. The stakes were high, the risks considerable, but for the first time the odds seemed surmountable. The stars beckoned as we prepared for our next move, their light a reminder of the vastness and beauty of the universe we sought to protect. As I settled into the pilot's seat, a sense of purpose crystallized within me, a certainty that had been elusive before. "Dear Diary," I mused, as the Lightbender soared into the cosmic embrace, "the verdict of stars is clear. We fight for a future that's ours to shape." Part 9. The Confluence of Chaos. Floating amongst the stars, the Lightbender seemed imbued with a livelier spirit, buoyed by the promise of allies and the swirling energy of impending resistance. The ship had become more than just metal and circuits. She was a companion, a conspirator in our quest to thwart the arbiters and protect the vault's secrets. We were on a course to Elysium Station, a secluded outpost orbiting a moon drenched in perpetual twilight. It was a haven for those who preferred the shadows to the spotlight, a place where deals were whispered rather than shouted. There, our burgeoning alliance would meet to strategize, to pool resources and fortitude. Seb was in the engineering bay, his voice occasionally crackling through the comm, an ongoing dialogue with the Lightbender that only he seemed to fully understand. I was in the cockpit, hands skimming over controls as I navigated the ship through the intricate tapestry of cosmic currents. Elysium Station appeared on the horizon, a silhouette framed against the moon's ashen glow. We docked smoothly, the gentle thud of contact echoing through the hull like a heartbeat. As we disembarked, the station's dimly lit corridors enveloped us, a stark contrast to the vibrant clamor of Lidus Prime. The meeting was set in a chamber deep within, a room alive with the hum of anticipation. Representatives of our makeshift coalition had gathered, Turin Sloane and his traders, a cadre of pilots whose loyalties lay with the freedom of the stars, and a handful of officials who saw the arbiters' threat as a catalyst for change. The air crackled with determination, a palpable sense of unity. It was a rare thing that many disparate souls drawn together by a common cause. Sloane stood at the center, his presence commanding yet inclusive, the linchpin of our motley crew. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice carrying a gravity that resonated through the chamber. "We're here because we know the arbiters seek to control what should remain free, because we believe in a future where our choices are our own." A murmur of agreement swept through the room, a tide of shared conviction. I stepped forward, feeling the weight of their gazes, the expectation and hope that rested on the shoulders of our alliance. "We've learned that the Nexus and the Vault are connected," I said, my voice clear and steady. "The Arbiters want to bend this power to their will. If they succeed, it won't just be the Vault at risk, it'll be all of us." A pilot spoke up, her voice laced with defiance. "So what's our plan, Captain? How do we stop them?" I looked around, feeling the moment crystallize. We strike where they least expect it. We use our mobility, our resourcefulness to outmaneuver them. We need to secure the heart of worlds before they do. The plan began to take shape, a blueprint of strategic strikes and defensive measures. Each member of our coalition brought their own strengths to the table, a tapestry of skills and resolve that promised to be more than the sum of its parts. As the meeting adjourned, I felt the undercurrent of camaraderie that had begun to weave its way through our ranks. We were no longer just individuals, we were becoming a force to be reckoned with. Seb and I returned to the Lightbender, the ship's corridors humming with the energy of preparation. As we checked and double-checked our systems, the reality of what lay ahead settled in. It was a gamble, an all-or-nothing play that could tip the scales of fate. "Feeling ready for this?" Seb asked, his hands moving with practiced ease over the console. "Ready as I'll ever be," I replied, a mixture of excitement and resolve coursing through me. "We've got one shot, let's make it count." As the Lightbender lifted off, the stars unfolded before us, a cosmic path leading toward destiny. The stars, indifferent yet ever-present, watched over us as we embarked on the next chapter of our journey. The universe was alive with possibilities, each one a thread in the narrative we were writing, a story of resistance, of hope, of the indomitable spirit that dared to challenge the darkness. "Dear Diary," I whispered to the starlit endlessness, "the time of reckoning is upon us. Let's see if we can bend chaos to our will." Part 10: The Storm of Intentions. The Lightbender streaked through the void, an arrow shot into the heart of uncertainty. The ship was more than a vessel now. It was a symbol of our resolve, a promise to stand firm against the encroaching shadows of the Arbiters. Each star we passed felt like a witness to our pact, their twinkles bearing silent testament to the task ahead. Our coalition had scattered from Elysium Station like seeds in the solar wind, each group tasked with its own piece of the plan. We were a tapestry, woven across the galaxy, bound by a common thread, a determination to protect the Nexus and the Vault from those who would wield their power for domination. As we closed in on the coordinates of the Heart of Worlds, the air in the cockpit felt charged, a mixture of apprehension and exhilaration. Seb adjusted the controls, his focus unwavering as he navigated us toward what was sure to be a maelstrom of conflict. Our comm system crackled to life, Sloane's voice coming through crisp and clear. "Everyone S in position, Rourke. We'll keep the Arbiters on their toes while you head straight for the heart." "Understood, Turin," I replied, the weight of leadership settling comfortably on my shoulders. "Stay safe out there, we'll bring this home." The plan was simple but bold. Our allies would create diversions across the Vault, drawing the Arbiters' attention and resources away, while the Lightbender would dive headlong into the storm, securing the heart before the Arbiters could reach it. As we made our final approach, the stars seemed to draw back, revealing the full majesty of the heart's resting place. It shimmered in the darkness, a beacon of possibility and hidden dangers. The cosmic winds whipped around us, a tempest of light and shadow that threatened to tear us asunder. "Time to dance, Captain," Seb said, his voice a steady anchor amidst the chaos. "Let us show them what the Lightbender can do." We plunged into the fray, the ship's engines roaring as we weaved through the turbulence with a grace born of necessity. The storm around the heart was alive with energy, a kaleidoscope of colors that swirled and clashed, each gust a test of our resolve. The comms erupted with the sounds of battle, our allies engaging the arbiters in a symphony of tactics and determination. Sloane's voice cut through the din, rallying his forces, a maestro conducting the orchestra of resistance. I focused on the task at hand, every instinct honed to a razor's edge. The heart of worlds awaited, its presence a magnet pulling us forward. As we neared the structure, I caught sight of a sleek arbiter vessel maneuvering to intercept. "They're on us, Seb," I called, my heart pounding with the rhythm of imminent confrontation. "Let's give them something to remember," he replied, his fingers a blur as he activated the ship's defenses. The Lightbender danced through the chaos, evading the arbiter's attempts to halt our progress. Each maneuver was a brushstroke on the canvas of conflict, each decision a note in the symphony of survival. As we closed in on the heart, the arbiter ship launched a volley of energy blasts, the space around us erupting in a blaze of light. The impacts were near misses, the hull shuddering but holding strong. "Almost there," Seb shouted, his voice a lifeline in the storm. With a final surge, we broke free of the arbiter's grasp, the heart of worlds looming before us, its surface alight with the glow of ancient power. We docked with precision, the Lightbender settling into place as if it were always meant to be there. I grabbed my gear, the sense of urgency propelling me forward into the heart's depths once more. The corridors were as I remembered, a labyrinth of history and potential, the air humming with the resonance of the Keeper's presence. The central chamber awaited, the orb still resting upon its pedestal, a sentinel of secrets. As I approached, the presence of the Keepers washed over me, a familiar embrace of wisdom and power. "Seeker," their voice intoned, a harmonic blend of ages. "You have returned in a time of tumult." "The arbiters are close," I replied, urgency threading my words. "We have to protect the heart." The Keeper's presence intensified, the chamber filled with a luminescent aura. The heart must remain undisturbed, its essence a cornerstone of what is and what could be. I nodded, understanding the gravity of their charge. I positioned myself by the pedestal, the weight of history pressing in. We would hold the heart against all odds until the storm passed and the balance was restored. Back in the cockpit, Seb coordinated with our allies, a network of voices intertwined in defiance. The battle raged on, each moment a testament to our collective will. "Hold the line, everyone," Sloane's voice commanded, resolute and unwavering. "We've come too far to fall back now." The Lightbender remained steadfast, a beacon of resistance amidst the maelstrom. The Ivers held its breath, the outcome a delicate thread weaving through the fabric of fate. "Dear diary," I murmured amid the chaos, the words a prayer and a promise. "We stand at the heart of the storm and we will not yield."